RuneScape Wiki 44,138 pages. SIGNINREGISTER. Explore updates RuneScape community. Contents: Hide. 1 History. 2 Abilities. 3 Appearance. 4 Language. 5 Known mahjarrat. 6 mahjarrat related quests. 7 Trivia. 8 References. In Obsolete mahjarrat, Tumken's Dream. Mahjarrat. Due to an update, this article may be out of date. Reason: missing info from mahjarrat memories and fate of the gods. You can help improve this page by editing it. The mahjarrat, pronounced mahjarrat, which means children of Mah, are a warlike, very powerful and long-lived tribe. Belonging to a species known as the Dreams of Mah from the realm of Frenesca. They are some of the most powerful beings to have ever walked on Gaia. Created by the elder god Mah as the first of her races, they have very long lifespans, able to live for millennia. In general, their deaths are either the result of very intense wounds, being chosen as the sacrifice in one of the rituals of rejuvenation, or from missing a significant number of rituals without conserving energy. Each rejuvenation makes the mahjarrat more powerful than they were at the last rejuvenation, 1, making them increase in power over the years and potentially maybe even reaching godhood levels. 2. The average mahjarrat is approximately 1.5 times as tall as a human. Mahjarrat possess the ability to detect other members of their race around the world, although certain circumstances can circumvent this. In addition to extremely powerful magic, they are shapeshifters, able to take on almost any form at will. Maintaining a disguise for extended periods saps much of their power, however. Although not immortal, mahjarrat age slowly, and in the period of time before the next ritual takes place, their flesh decays, and they are able to survive as skeletal beings for some time, regaining their flesh with the next ritual they attend. Provided that they continue to attend the rituals, or find some other source of rejuvenation, they are not likely to die of natural causes. Prior to the death of Mah, this ritual of rejuvenation is an event that takes place amongst the mahjarrat when the planets are in alignment. And they have agreed to have one every 500 years, although this has been different in the past. 3. During the ritual, a sacrifice amongst the mahjarrat is decided. Usually through battle, who is killed in order to rejuvenate the others. The mahjarrat is sacrificed and the nearby ritual marker channels their power into the surviving members. In addition, each rejuvenation makes a mahjarrat slightly more powerful than the last. This sequence of rituals allows the mahjarrat to be practically immortal, not dying of age, and dying out at the same time. Unlike the dragonkin, however, who cannot die of age either, mahjarrat are able to reproduce. Most of the mahjarrat were brought to Gaia by the Menafite god Ixthlarin, but soon left his service and became the most powerful soldiers of the god Zaraos. They were once referred to as the stern judges of Ixthlarin and the faceless ones by the Menafite people, but such terms are no longer commonplace. Senlightin mentions the history of her lands, where she will talk about the stern judges. The mahjarrat quest series revolves around them, although they also are involved in a number of other quests and generally play a significant role in Gaia history as a whole. In general, most Saradominist humans fear the mahjarrat, some even considering them to be a myth, referring to them as evil and foul beings or even demons, most likely due to the lack of knowledge about them. Although Ixthlarin brought a vast majority of the mahjarrat to Gaia, some stayed in Frenesca for unknown reasons. 4. Many mahjarrat like Waziatel do not know of their existence or forgot it due to the immense gap of time. 5. Most mahjarrat allied themselves with Zamorak when he betrayed Zoroas at the end of the Second Age, creating a deep schism between the tribes Zamorakians and Zoroastrian loyalists. It is unknown how many still survive to this day, as Azanadra states, "Be aware, mortal, there could be as many as 100 of us still upon this world, with dozens more returned from other realms, but equally there could be as few as 10, each as mighty as one of your armies." After the 18th ritual, there are only 9, 10 including Hazil, known living mahjarrat on Gailina, with the current status of at least 2 being unknown. However, due to the fact that there are no more alive mahjarrat mentioned in Zemarigal's notes, and that none of the other mahjarrat have ever mentioned another of their kind being alive on Gailina, it is highly unlikely that there are more mahjarrat on Gailina. And 2 more English Signintoedit. The mahjarrat gather for the ritual of rejuvenation. RuneScape Wiki explore updates RuneScape community. Fandom. Beta. Fan. Central. Games. Anime. Movies. TV. Video. Wikis. Starter. Wiki. History. Frenesca. The mahjarrat were originally the inhabitants of a world known in the common tongue as Frenesca, often called the realm of perpetual warfare. The mahjarrat were created by Ma's dreams of Zoroas and Seren. Seren manipulated the young mahjarrat into sacrificing themselves through the ritual of rejuvenation by posing as Ma, so that Ma could regain some of her lost energy. Before leaving, she also started a second ritual, the ritual of enervation, which was designed to give birth to a new mahjarrat, and drain Ma during one of her violent nightmares to avoid destroying Frenesca. This continued for centuries, and eventually the mahjarrat had created a society and culture centered around their rituals. The number of mahjarrat living in Frenesca prior to the mahjarrat's departure is unknown, although considering almost 500 followed Ixthlarin and not all left Frenesca, the number was over 500. To be able to rejuvenate themselves, Zoroas gifted the mahjarrat a new ritual marker in the north, as the original one from Frenesca could not be moved. 6. Virtually all aspects of mahjarrat society centered on war. A handful of folk tales and stories, such as that of the Muspa, survive to this day and suggest that the tribe may also have possessed some type of rudimentary culture outside the immediate circle of war. Arrival to Gailina. Near the beginning of Gailina's Second Age, Ixthlarin, the Menafite god of the dead, brought all of the mahjarrat to Gailina at the promise of large battle. 5. Knowing that they were a bloodthirsty people who lived for a fight, Ixthlarin needed warriors to ward off the forces of Zoroas who were invading the Caridian lands from the north, and their ability to regenerate from death and change appearance appealed to him. Queen Senlightin mentions an oath of obedience which the mahjarrat took before their arrival upon Gailina, which means Ixthlarin may not have enslaved their tribe, but negotiated their service. 7. What he offered their tribe in return was the opportunity to fight for the Menaphites and defend their land in the Caridian Zoroastrian War, although the mahjarrat apparently never fully succumbed to his rule and Ixthlarin never had the influence he thought. The mahjarrat became known as the Stern Judges or the Faceless Ones, due to their shape-shifting abilities, to the desert locals and combatants of the war, due to their abilities. According to Queen Senlightin, the mahjarrat fought against Zoroas when he first started to invade the desert from The North. 8. Their arrival was fairly grotesque. It is described by a Menafite mercenary from that time, Graham Cobbold, as a small army following Ixthlarin through a giant interdimensional rift. For years the Mahjarrat served Ixthlarin, and the Menafite pantheon eventually won the war. When the war ended, Ixthlarin took away all of Slisk's whites, which he had created from the Zoroastrian invaders, to allow them to pass on to the afterlife. This angered the Mahjarrat immensely, and it appears he made some sort of deal with Zoroas and joined his numbers. 9. Also around this time, Ixthlarin's sister Amaskut's mind was warped and corrupted seemingly by the Mahjarrat's power and presence, although it is implied in Bilraka's memory that actually her mind was warped by looking upon the face of the elder goddess Ma and interrupting her from her sleep. Although the details of this are vague, she became known as the Devourer, an evil goddess of destruction. Eventually, all other Mahjarrat also came into the service of Zoroas, a god that saw their value as soldiers and offered them to serve under him rather than attempt to defeat them. Zoroas offered the Mahjarrat power in his growing empire, and they, tired of being denied war, following Slisk, gladly accepted. The Mahjarrat soon became Zoroas' greatest soldiers and climbed up to high ranks, as was the case with Zamorak and Azanadra, amongst others. Under Zoroas' rule, Zoroas, with many humans, the Mahjarrat, vampires, dragon riders, demons, and other races at his disposal, soon established an unrivaled empire in northeastern Guyalina. A second ritual marker was constructed and eventually placed in the north by Zoroas himself, supplemented by knowledge of the tribe's customs and ways from Azanadra. Nearly all of modern-day Misthalin, Ascania, the northern section of Haloval, and 4 in 3 soon came under the God of Control's rule. The Mahjarrat, his greatest soldiers, reveled in the bloodshed. The Zoroastrian kingdom was one of great prosperity, but the Mahjarrat were not content. Soon, they became divided and began to work towards their own ends. The most significant of these was Zamorak. Zamorak was amongst the strongest beings to have ever walked on Guyalina. He earned himself the nickname the Scourge of the Battlefield, ruthlessly proving his power in combat countless times, 10, 11. This earned him favor with Zoroas, who quickly appointed him to the rank of general. Yet, despite this, Zamorak was not willing to serve Zoroas, and even as his kingdom expanded from Sentisan, Zamorak plotted against him. Azanadra became Zoroas' champion and remained forever loyal to him. Soon, other Mahjarrat, such as Lucian, Inakra, Zemarigal and Hazil, joined Zamorak in his plotting to overthrow Zoroas. Others, including Azanadra, Waziatel and Slisk, remained loyal to Zoroas. By a coincidental series of events, the Staff of Armadil, an elder artifact, eventually fell into the hands of Zamorak. With the assistance of individuals such as his fellow Mahjarrat conspirators, Lord Loaniel Vergidiad Draken, Vigora and others, Zamorak devised a way to defeat the Empty Lord. First, he eradicated all potential threats, such as Zoroas' other generals, Azanadra, Nex, Anil, and Char to name some. Zamorak, Zemarigal, Hazil, Inakra, Draken, a vampire, Vigora, a human, Tamaron, a demon, Morphinon and Apropos, dragon riders, eventually approached Zoroas' citadel and attacked. A great battle raged in Zoroas' stronghold. Zamorak, backed by the aforementioned Mahjarrat and other generals, attacked Zoroas in the throne room. While Zamorak fought, his allies ensured that none of Zoroas' bodyguards would interfere. Zamorak impaled Zaraoz with the staff in his back, but the latter fought on and was on the winning hand. Eventually, he grabbed Zamorak by his throat and proceeded to choke his former general. However, while choking Zamorak, Zaraoz miraculously tripped. The staff then impaled both Zaraoz and the creator of Mahjarrat. Advertisement. Ixthlarin, god of the dead. Modern remains of Ulek, a city made prosperous by the Mahjarrat's protection and destroyed by Balfrog Kriyath. Millennia later. Advertisement. Zaraoz is attacked by his then Mahjarrat general Zamorak, and, acting like a siphon, transferred some of Zaraoz's power into Zamorak. Zaraoz faded from existence and Guy Liner's plane, while Zamorak seemed to become even more real. 12. Zaraoz left his body to avoid death and cursed all those that had aided in the betrayal. The curse struck but did not affect the Mahjarrat, however, for they were creatures of pure magic under Zamorak's rule. Despite the intense hatred between many of the gods, they all agreed that Zamorak had to be punished for seemingly killing a god, and so, even though Zamorak stood triumphant, the gods banished him from Guy Liner. Not long after his banishment, Zamorak returned. With the aid of the elder artifacts, the Stone of Jazz and the Staff of Armadil, in addition to Zaraoz's powers, Zamorak had managed to ascend to godhood himself. Calling upon his former warriors, Zamorak declared war upon all that opposed him. Thus began the Guy Liner Iron God Wars. Throughout the wars, the Mahjarrat would prove a terrible force on the battlefield. The remaining Zaraozians played a tactical move, sending their strongest army, led by Nex, to conquer the ritual site for themselves. While this was initially successful, Nex was imprisoned by Saradominist troops not long after the battle had begun. Individuals such as Slisk went into hiding, but as Anadra continued to fight for Zaraoz and defended the Zaraozian stronghold and capital Sentisan in an attempt to re-establish contact with his god. Eventually, Zamorakian troops claimed the city for Zamorak. As Anadra was imprisoned in Jaldraut by a Zamorakian Saradominist alliance, the Zamorakian Mahjarrat continued to wage war upon what few Zaraozians remained. Most were forced into the Caridian desert, which had become a desert as a result of the Caridian campaign of Zamorak's demonic armies, where they live as bandits today, and the Zaraozian Mahjarrat were all imprisoned or forced into hiding. Towards the end of the God Wars, the Mahjarrat Porkira gave birth to a son, Khazad, with an unknown father. He was raised to follow Zamorak. 13. Shortly before the end of the Third Age, at the end of the God Wars, Zamorak found the Stone of Jazz, which Saradomin had confiscated from him at his banishment more than 3 millennia prior. As a final act of Zaraozian extermination, and to destroy all of the other gods' forces, he used its power to destroy the continent of 4 in 3, creating the wilderness. This caused so much damage to the anima mundi of Guy Liner, however, that Guthix awoke from his slumber. Seeing the horrors that had been unleashed upon Guy Liner, he demanded an end to the God Wars and banished all the gods from Guy Liner, even those who did not participate. As a reminder of his power, Guthix struck a massive blade into the center of a crater in the ruins of the Zaraozian kingdom 4 in 3 and created the Edicts of Guthix. Still, the Mahjarrat that sided with Zamorak continued to be loyal to him, as this would help in the future rituals for their personal survival. After the gods had been banished and Guthix retreated into a cave to sleep, the mahjarrat began to search for him in an attempt to return Zaraoz or Zamorak. After he was deemed unfindable, however, most mahjarrat gave up the search and settled for the events. 14. Hazil continued his tutoring of Khazad, for example, and Zemaragal retreated to his fort in the north. The result of the betrayal and the God Wars was a large abyss between the Zamorakian and Zaraozian mahjarrat factions. The two camps would become incredibly separated, with only certain individuals such as Karshai and Jalan, although the latter remained loyal to Zaraoz, wishing to exist in peace. Post-God Wars. By the end of the God Wars, only a handful of mahjarrat still survived and only a few of those were attending the rituals. By the end of the Fourth Age, the number of the mahjarrat missing the rituals reached its peak, seeing that in Ankara, Akshanakos and Bilrak would become otherwise occupied, as Anadra, Karshai and Jalan. The latter only missed the 17th, were imprisoned and Lamistad and Mizak had already been sacrificed. This meant that, at the 17th ritual, only two Zaraozians, Waziatel and Slisk, were to attend. A Zamorakian, Ralvash, was sacrificed nonetheless. Nevertheless, the living mahjarrat continued to serve Zamorak and Zaraoz, though they became very divided in their actions. Only at the 18th ritual did Inakra, Akshanakos and Azanadra resurface, and, technically, Jalan, albeit encased in ice. Today, the mahjarrat are working towards different goals, and a few can still be found in the far reaches of Gailina. While the Zamorakian mahjarrat continue to increase their power and expand their conquered territory, the few faithful to Zaraoz remain in hiding and secretly prepare for his return. After the 18th ritual, most of the alive mahjarrat participated in the assassination of Guthix, when Guthix was slain by Slisk. This cleared the path for Zamorak and Zaraoz to return, and both gods are currently plotting. Abilities. Legends tell of the mahjarrat's many great powers, although whether they are shared by all mahjarrat or only apply to certain individuals is unknown. The mahjarrat live incredibly long lives, to the point where they are nearly immortal. Even some of those that arrived in the Second Age still live, and the rest are suspected to have died in combat or been sacrificed. The mahjarrat Azanadra refers to himself as old, his arrival in Gailina occurring between 6,000 and 8,000 years ago, although his age upon arrival is unknown. The only guaranteed way to kill a mahjarrat is by sacrifice, but they can still wither and die given enough time and a lack of rejuvenation. Once every 500 or so years, one of the mahjarrat is sacrificed in order for the other mahjarrat to regain power as well as the name suggests, rejuvenate. However, it seems that the mahjarrat are able to rejuvenate without killing one of their own. Without the ritual, by draining energy of portals, however, the only mahjarrat that know about this are Mwia and Bilrak. Magically, the mahjarrat are second to none, and can use magic without the assistance of runestones, which races such as the humans and even the elves use. Not all use magic primarily, but with training they are nearly unstoppable. For instance, some such as Inakra can cast spells that prevent the victim from aging, but at the cost of making them nearly entirely immobile. They use this to their advantage, torturing and starving their victims for hundreds to thousands of years. It has been stated that they can prevent wounds from healing, inflicting pain with their minds, raising the dead, and placing themselves in a sleep that, in time, can heal even the most severe of wounds. Some are capable of darkening the skies with living blood and clouds that take on dangerous forms and block the sky. Those particularly skilled, such as Zemurigal, are known even to possess the ability to hide godly energy from detection and traverse. The restored Zoroastrian Sentisan temple, constructed with mahjarrat aid. Advertisement. As an Adra, one of the greatest dangers to the Zamorakiyans. Advertisement. The battle during the 18th ritual. The Zoroastrian mahjarrat face the Saradominists and Guthixians. 2 Mahjarrat shape-shifting. An exceptionally powerful mahjarrat, hitting 9,001 life points of damage on another one. The realm of dreams. Others, like Lucian and Zemurigal, dabbled in the art of necromancy, able to summon large armies of undead warriors and trolls to aid them in battle. They are also some of the original users of ancient magics. The Guardians of Armadil claim that the mahjarrat were at one point so many and so powerful that they once dominated this plane of existence, a possible reference to their dominance during the God Wars. Mahjarrat are able to heal their wounds in battle, nullifying even major damage inflicted within a short time. They each have a trademark spell as well. Aside from magic, some mahjarrat may possess other powers. Khazad, for example, is proficient in melee combat, and Slisk controls the Shadow Realm. The mahjarrat appear to possess some type of innate race awareness, and are under most circumstances able to feel the presence of other mahjarrat in their world. In this way, the mahjarrat are usually able to determine whether or not other members of their race are alive, weakened, or dead. This awareness is not foolproof, however. And under extreme conditions mahjarrat may become undetectable even to extremely powerful members of their race. Karshai and Jalan are 2 mahjarrat known to have achieved this in the past, although Jalan's disappearance was unintentional. Karshai managed to achieve this by wiping his own memory, forgetting his identity as a mahjarrat and how to use his own power. This had 2 noticeable effects. The first prevented other mahjarrat from detecting his presence in the world, and the second effect is a heavily reduced degeneration. Without knowledge or use of his power, he was able to miss many rituals and still maintain his strength. Some of the more potent mahjarrat appear to be more powerful than certain low-tier deities in combat. For example, Hazel in his newly resurrected and weakened state surpasses the essences of the demigods Krondis and Apmekan and the Bundo's avatar, despite the latter containing much of Bundo's full godly might. These 3 are all tier 7 gods. Physically, most mahjarrat are very strong. Many can easily shatter bones with their bare hands and defeat many armed humans. Their essence seems to be bound into the 4 ancient elements of smoke, shadow, blood and ice, as both Azanadra and Axhanakos have been captured by binding their essence in 4 diamonds representing those elements. The mahjarrat were some of the first wielders of dragon equipment that is now in use today, though Fairy Erika in Xanaris claims that it was made by the Necrosids, a subsect of the Dragonkin race who give in to their rage and pain, and Inakra states that the mahjarrat were not responsible for its creation. They are shapeshifters, capable of shape-shifting into seemingly anything they wanted to, though none seem capable of impersonating another mahjarrat. They are even capable of shape-shifting by accident, as Jalan discovered when he turned into a muspar while he was having a nightmare. This is why they are called the Faceless Ones by Menaphites. Mahjarrat are also able to teleport themselves, and almost anything or anyone with them, to presumably almost every location. Appearance. Despite being capable of altering their appearance, the mahjarrat possess a natural form, which is somewhat similar to those of humans, but larger. Their skin is tougher and contains markings and stripes. It disappears after numerous years due to the old age, however, it is recovered after they experience a ritual of rejuvenation. Some mahjarrat possess trademark features that differentiate them from the others, such as Hazel, who possesses a pair of horns. Their clothes are different and can be used to identify them. For example, Khazad, who is the only known mahjarrat that wears plate armor. Each mahjarrat, except Slisk, who has his forehead covered, has a gemstone or crystal embedded in their forehead, which is connected to the race's creation. 15. Language. According to Azanadra, the mahjarrat have their own language. 16. Although perhaps because of their continuous involvement with so many other races, they tend to speak in the common tongue, even amongst themselves. During the quest The Temple at Sentisan, Azanadra refuses to tell the name of the Frosten Horn in the mahjarrat tongue, claiming that doing so could be dangerous. However, it is unclear what this means. The name of Freneska, the mahjarrat home world, is one of few words known to be taken directly from the mahjarrat language. Although its pronunciation and spelling differ drastically from their original incarnation, variations such as Feneskre, Freneskre or Freneska are sometimes used in the common tongue because of the language's difficult structure. Similarly, the names by which individual mahjarrat are known today are likely approximations of their original titles. Known mahjarrat. Over 500 mahjarrat are known to have been active on Guyalina at one time or another, but of these, the names of only 30 are known. There are currently a total of 9 mahjarrat still active on Guyalina, plus 1 hybrid and 1 god. Of these, 3 are Zoroasian, 7 are Zamorakian, and 1 is unaligned. Abrigal. Abrigal was sacrificed on Freneska during the skirmish to determine if the mahjarrat would go with Ixthlerin and Damascut. This skirmish started because Abrigal, along with Sorlisad, wanted to stay on Freneska, but Tamikal and Azanadra were in favor of leaving. Abrigal was one of the strongest 4 mahjarrat at the time, with Sorlisad, Tamikal and Azanadra. His powers surpassed those of even the mahjarrat Zamorak, and thus he had influence in this decision. 17. Soon after being sacrificed, the mahjarrat went with Ixthlerin and Damascut to Guyalina. Axhanakos. Axhanakos is a Zoroasian of average power. He is dressed in brown-orange robes with a blue trim. He is also often seen with the head of a camel, camels being his followers. Axhanakos met his rival, Inakra, in a temple that she built dedicated to Zamorak in the Caridian desert. He was transformed into a bone god when he was tricked, where he remained imprisoned until 169 of the 5th age, when he was freed by an adventurer. Afterwards, Axhanakos teleported to the north, along with his adversary. He arrived there in time for the ritual, siding with the Zoroasians. During the usual political battle, the mahjarrat Jalan, having shape-shifted to resemble a musbah. Advertisement. A typical mahjarrat, right after a ritual advertisement, dueled his rival Inakra. When Kashai resurfaced, he arrived seconds after Inakra to convert him to Zoroastrianism. When Kashai refused to join either side, Axhanakos angrily left the scene. He was a part of the Zoroastrian faction during the attempt to assassinate Guthics, wishing to bargain with Guthics rather than kill him. Azanadra. Azanadra is a powerful mahjarrat. It has been debated who was the most powerful between him and Zamorak. When they first came to Guyalina, Azanadra was more powerful, but as time went on, Zamorak became a better battle mage. As far as raw power is concerned, Azanadra still had the edge. He follows Zaraoz and has always been loyal to him. Azanadra is dressed in purple and always has some form of headdress. He was known as the champion of Zaraoz. When Zaraoz was defeated, Azanadra continued to fight against the forces of Zamorak and Saradomin to try and help save Zaraoz's kingdom. He operated from Sentisan to restore communication with his god and later fought in the Battle of Uza. He was found to be immortal. So Azanadra was locked in the Jaldraut pyramid and his essence was bound into 4 diamonds. He remained trapped there until 169 of the 5th age, when he was freed by an adventurer. He had become oblivious to time and was thus surprised to see the god wars over and shocked that he could no longer hear Zaraoz in his mind. As a reward, he taught the adventurer the ancient magics. He traveled to the Misthaline dig site and, posing as archaeologist Dr. Nabanik, he acquired permission for an excavation with the help of the qualified adventurer and began to restore the Sentisan temple. He hired an assassin to steal a formerly Zaraozian relic from Entrana and got the adventurer to retrieve the Frostenhorn and the Barrow's icon. With these, Azanadra created a communion portal and established permanent contact with Zaraoz. In return he received some power and he taught the adventurer the ancient curses. During the 18th ritual, he battled Zemirigal. He had also tasked the adventurer with setting up magical beacons around the ritual marker, using which he channeled the extreme power of Zaraoz into the exceedingly powerful mahjarrat Lucian, severely harming him. After Lucian's demise, Azanadra left the site. Later that same year, Azanadra acted as a leader of the Zaraozian faction during the hunt for Guthics. He freed Char from her cave and sent Slisk to do so with Nex. Azanadra, Waziatel and Axhanakos agreed to negotiate with Guthics about Zaraoz's return and convinced Char and Nex to join them, but were later betrayed by Slisk, who killed Guthics. Nevertheless, Azanadra was content. After Zaraoz returned, he tasked Azanadra with finding the Elder Halls of Guyalina. Bilrak. Bilrak is a Zamorakian mahjarrat described as the god's lapdog. Zemirigal mentions him as a mahjarrat of average power, albeit weak-willed. However, this may be a ruse, as Bilrak states in one of his chronicles found in Demonheim that Zemirigal is a fool that underestimates his power. In Zemirigal's notes he says, Bilrak is of average power for our kind. He seems willing to go along with what I suggest, so he will be useful for now. It is currently unknown how powerful Bilrak truly is. Bilrak looks noticeable different from other mahjarrat, perhaps due to influences in Demonheim. Currently, he has dark green and brown robes and 2 small horns on his chin. During the God Wars, Bilrak summoned the monstrous demon Kairil Zazaroth to the world. In the 4th age, Bilrak began tunneling in Demonheim in search of the rift to return Zamorak after hearing whispers in his mind. He wrote mysterious chronicles which can be found throughout the dungeons, where Bilrak expressed that he feels like the other mahjarrat look down on him and fears he may have been next in line as the sacrifice. To prove himself worthy, he would show his devotion to Zamorak by bringing him back to this world through an interdimensional portal, the Rift. During these travels, he visited many strange realms and allied himself with or enslaved strange races such as behemoths, stalkers and Kaldarian demons. Bilrak had also taken the ritual marker with him to Demonheim, albeit in pieces, the last one of which was delivered in 168 of the Fifth Age. When Lucian and Zemerigal found this out after the 17th ritual, Lucian sent his daughter Muia to hunt down Bilrak. She found him at the bottom of Demonheim after 499 years of search, where she was taken to the rift by him after discovering that the power of strange portals can rejuvenate a mahjarrat. Inakra. Inakra is the only known surviving female Zamorakian mahjarrat. She has red robes and her facial stripes are pink. Inakra is very vindictive and condescending, and quite powerful. She is known to have gone on a mission with Zamorak and others in the Second Age to raid Framinic villages for Zoroas, when the group discovered the Auspachas' tremendous powers. Inakra also participated in Zamorak's rebellion against Zoroas. Inakra has feelings for Zamorak, and built a temple for him in the desert. Zamorak took no notice, and she later trapped Axhanakos, her rival, inside her hold. Over Axhanakos was broken by an adventurer in 169, after which they both traveled northwards. At some point, she met with Zemerigal. According to the latter's notes, she declined his offer to sire more of our race due to her feelings for Zamorak. During the ritual, she fiercely demanded Axhanakos to be the sacrifice, although she wasn't particularly listened to. During the great battle, she duels with him, as always. They left together after Lucian's demise, both scared. She later appeared to convince Karshai to join the Zamorakians when he resurfaced, but was turned down. She warned him not to rely on any Zamorakian help in the future and teleported away. She, along with a group of dark wizards and other Zamorakian mags, infiltrated Guthix's cave. After its discovery and, independently of the other Zamorakian factions there, tried to penetrate to the main chamber and kill Guthix so that Zamorak could return and rule the world with her. She was narrowly stopped by the adventurer, Fiara and Voluta, and was thus forced to leave. Hazel. Hazel is a follower of Zamorak and, according to the latter, was almost like a brother to him. He became the mentor of Khazad after Porkira's death and aided in Zamorak's rebellion. As a reward, he was given permission to invade the Inakra traps Axhanakos in her temple. Advertisement. As an Adra restores communication with Zoroas. Advertisement. Bilrak takes Muia to the depths of Demonheim. Inakra and her posse arrive to kill Guthix. Advertisement. Region that is now Ardugn, with his pupil conquering the area south of it. He was later defeated and sealed away by an ancestor of Cyril Connillan who later claimed his estate. In the 60s of the Fifth Age's 2nd century, a cult of Hazel began to plot against the Connillans' descendants. They had the resurrection of Hazel as a goal. When Cyril's armor was stolen by the cult, he hired an adventurer to retrieve it. They were given the choice to revive Hazel by the cult, or leave him imprisoned. If the adventurer sided with the cult of Hazel, Hazel was released and headed to the north. If so, he would attend the 18th ritual and duel certification. Hazel has green robes with brown and grey parts and his grey hood has a gold trim. He is characterized by horns protruding from his forehead. Hizindra. Hizindra was a mahjarrat killed on Franesca. During a voyage to the Franesca ritual marker, they ended up stranded in a river of lava and perished. Their devstone can be found on Frenesca. Jalan. Jalan was a Zoroastrian mahjarrat who, unlike his kin, did not care for power and wished to exist in peace. Jalan was generally considered a weak mahjarrat, and attempted to keep away from conflict. According to Zemerigal, he did not attend the 17th ritual, which made him even weaker. This is because he had accidentally frozen himself inside ice. When he was released from the ice by an adventurer, he was in the form of a muspa, a mythical creature of the mahjarrat, because he accidentally shapeshifted to its form while having a nightmare in the ice, but soon remembered his true race and returned to his skeletal form. He was extremely weak when awoken, and talked about the mahjarrat ritual and how it could help him regain strength. He asked for the adventurer to take him to a place where nobody would find him, but still within range of the ritual so that he could be rejuvenated and regain his powers. The adventurer subsequently re-encased him in ice right under the ritual marker. Lucian somehow discovered this and pulled Jalan out from his icy prison during the 18th ritual and sacrificed him. Jalan had a dark grey robe with a headband containing his mahjarrat gem. Khazad. Khazad is the youngest of the mahjarrat, born towards the end of the God Wars. Khazad is a follower of Zamorak. Khazad is powerful, but vain and fairly egocentric. His mother was Porkira. Khazad was tutored by Hazil, another mahjarrat. He claimed much territory and built up a following in southern Kandarin, in a region which is now named after him. Khazad is the general of a large army of humans and is in war with the gnomes. He owns a hellhound pet by the name of Bouncer, for whom he deeply cares. Khazad and his puppy were slain by an adventurer during the rescue of the servile family, which he had enslaved. He can be found afterwards north of the Agility Log near Sinclair Mansion, in the Shadow Realm. From there he had scouts update him before the ritual about recent developments. He devised a plot to have Bouncer's ghost assassinate the adventurer, but this failed. Right before the ritual, he and a small group of elite guards assaulted the party heading for the ritual in addition to revealing Ali the Wise's real identity as Wayaziatel, a Zoroastrian mahjarrat against whom Khazad seems to hold a serious grudge. Upon defeat, he teleported away, only to briefly reappear later and battle with Iria. Khazad is the only mahjarrat not to wear robes. He has grey plate armor instead, with the skull emblem of his army painted on his chest. He prefers to stay in his skeletal form even after rejuvenation, to better strike fear into friend and foe. Kashai. Kashai is a neutral mahjarrat and generally friendly towards humans, while most other mahjarrat harbor some disdain towards humans and other weaker races /species. He is mentioned by Azanadra as a possibly imprisoned mahjarrat. Zemerigal describes him as a mahjarrat of average power who kept out of trouble by going along with the majority. He mysteriously disappeared sometime before the 17th ritual. Kashai is neither Zamorakian nor Zoroastrian and claims that neutrality is the best way for mahjarrat to live. Kashai once experimented with a mineral called Bane and created the Barmung battle axe. He wanted to try it out by tuning it to Darganath, but, while traveling to Waterbirth Island by ship, he was attacked by an assassin whose identity he does not recall. His ship was destroyed by the battle, and the unknown assassin is responsible for the Zamorakian mark on his chest. Additionally, Kashai raised his own memory, both as a means of hiding himself from the other mahjarrat, and as a means of preserving his power. Evidently, without any knowledge of his mahjarrat power, he had managed to avoid growing weaker over time. Therefore, despite having missed 2 rituals, Karshai bears the humanoid face of a relatively empowered mahjarrat, rather than the skull-like countenance of a weakened one. Karshai, who had shapeshifted into a human, was found on sea by Brunt of Releka, and he could predictably not recall what had happened. He could only mutter Karshai, which the Framinic heard as Koshii. Koshii was taken care of and passed the Framinic trials and became known as Koshii the Deathless. Koshii fought valiantly during the battle for Releka, at one point briefly defending himself from the Darganath kings on his own. In the 5th age, he regained his memory with the help of an adventurer. Inakra and Axhanakos immediately arrived to win him for their respective sides, but he refused, and they left. He is currently still in Releka. Karshai's appearance was heavily altered by his time as Koshii. He currently has white and red robes and a diadem with a gem on his head. Colton was given the rank of tribune by Zaraos, and presumably died some time after. Lacosta was given the rank of tribune by Zaraos, and was approached by Zamorak, who sought to rebel against Zaraos at the end of the 2nd age. It is unknown whether Lacosta and Colton participated in the rebellion or not, and it is presumed they died some time afterwards. Lamistad. Hazel is resurrected by his cult. Jalan is sacrificed by Lucian. Advertisement. Khazad fights Wayaziatel and the Temple Knights. Karshai refuses to join the Zaraosians or the Zamorakians. Advertisement. Lamistad was a Zamorakian mahjarrat who was terminated during the 16th ritual. Lamistad attempted to tunnel under the ritual site to avoid the political battle, but accidentally broke into the basement of Zemirigal's northern base. Zemirigal found out and imprisoned him until the next ritual, where he suggested him as sacrifice, and most of the other mahjarrat agreed. According to Zemirigal's notes, he was a supporter of Zamorak, but this did not protect him from his fellow mahjarrat. Lucian was a godhood-aspiring Zamorakian mahjarrat whose goal is to obtain elder artifacts and harness power for himself. He is also the cousin of Zemirigal. Lucian has grey and purple robes, and his grey hood has a gold trim. He also has a small emerald embedded into his forehead. He was amongst Zamorak's contra Zaraos conspiracy, but did not actually participate in the rebellion. In the 5th age, he performed a massive attack on Varrock with aid of Solus Delaga, but he was repelled with magic. From then on he became intent on acquiring the Staff of Armadil and stole it, with the help of the treasure hunter Muverio or the adventurer in year 169 of the 5th age. Afterwards, he sent Muverio to seek the legendary Stone of Jazz while establishing a network of spies, mercenaries, and assassins himself. He attempted to kill several high-ranked officers in organizations working against him, such as Cruxical and Therisk Semphia, but these attempts all failed due to the aid of the adventurer. An alliance between these two and the Temple Knights then gathered an octet of heroes to apprehend the mahjarrat, but Lucian proved too powerful. He was first seen raising an army of undead in the wilderness near his camp and was soon attacked. His power exponentially amplified by the staff, he was able to kill most of his opponents, even the legendary gnome Hazelmere. After this, the Alliance tracked down Muvario and sent the adventurer to find the Stone of Jazz before he could. This succeeded, but Lucian appeared in the ancient Guthix temple and stole the stone, taking it north with him. At this point he also revealed his plan of becoming a god and dethroning Zamorak, as well as his wish to establish mahjarrat authority in the world. Lucian has also offered Zemaragal an alliance. Although Zemaragal was originally against the idea, he reconsidered when he noticed Lucian gaining considerable power. During the 18th ritual, he summoned many dangerous ice creatures to kill his adversaries and dueled Waziatel himself. He did not appreciate the other mahjarrat attempting to voice their opinion over whom to sacrifice and proclaimed himself to be the only one worthy to decide. When his cousin got into serious trouble and begged for Lucian's help, the latter ignored Zemaragal, which prompted him to rally everyone else to turn on Lucian instead of their own opponents. Lucian was powerful enough to ignore everything. After several battles, he pulled up Jalan from below and sacrificed him. Azanadra channeled the power of Zaraoz into Lucian, severely damaging him, which triggered his fear. Lucian summoned the stone once more, but was met by 3 dragonkin, who were intent in destroying him, the false user. Lucian challenged them and was winning the duel until he was attacked from behind by Sakurth and subsequently killed. Madromert. Madromert was a mahjarrat brought to Gailina from Frenesca by the Menafite god Ixthlarin to combat the forces of Zaraoz. At some point, Madromert was killed either during a ritual of rejuvenation or combat. They were at one time given the rank of Pontifex, a leader in the church, and had trindine amongst their diocese, which they objected to. Mizuk was terminated during the 15th ritual. According to Zemaragal, Mizuk was rather weak and had no allies. Muia is the daughter of Lucian. She was appointed the task of searching for Bilrak within Demonheim by Lucian after the 17th ritual. She is only half mahjarrat, but has an extended human lifespan and the abilities to read, erase and steal people's memories, as well as disguise herself as various things and teleport short distances at will. Muia infiltrated Demonheim, where she caused quite some havoc. For example, she terminated Yudura, a cruel necrolord who wished to overthrow Bilrak. She finally met Bilrak in 168 and went with him to the rift after discovering she could extend her lifespan using portal energy. When she went through the rift, she appeared in Zamorak's realm and followed him. The god proceeded to teach her lessons on the nature of chaos, Muia learning that without chaos life grows stagnant, and no development is made without chaos. She served as a general of Zamorak during his clash with Saradomin at Lumbridge. Naba served as a Zaraozian pontifex for some time, surviving the Caridian massacre by Tumkan. Naba presumably died during the late Second Age or God Wars. Porkira is the deceased mother of the mahjarrat general Khazad. She is mentioned in Zemaragal's Notes Part 2. She died at the Battle of Uza, shortly after giving birth during the God Wars. Ptolemos disappeared sometime during the early Fourth Age. He wrote the book Tuur is Divine, which is now stored in the Grand Library of Menafos. Lamistad's Labyrinth. Lucian attacks the adventurer, pretending to be Surok. Lucian activates the Stone of Jazz shortly before his demise. Advertisement. Muia finds Bilrak after 499 years of searching. Advertisement. Ralvash Ralvash was terminated during the 17th ritual. Zemurigal describes him as a mahjarrat of average power, and rather ugly due to his closely placed eye sockets. Sorlisard was killed on Franesca during the skirmish to determine if the mahjarrat would go with Ixthlarin and Damaskut. Slisk is a very powerful, devious and manipulative Zoroastrian mahjarrat and self-proclaimed master of the Shadow Realm and brother to Wayaziatel. While he is very loyal to Zoroas, he will never do anything that would not gain him any personal profit and / fun. Azanadra describes him as Slisk the serpent-tongued, who delves the shadows. During the Caridian Zoroastrian War, he converted many Zoroastrians into whites, but these were all taken away by Ixthlarin after winning the war. Slisk disappeared with a grudge against the god. When he arrived in Sentisan, the capital of Zoro's empire, Zoro's bestowed the rank of Praetorian Prefectus, the leader of the empire's secret police. His actions during his time as Prefectus worried some mahjarrat, but they were too afraid of the secret police's power to speak out about it. Slisk is known to have tricked Saradominists at the Battle for the God's Word into Guthixianism by posing as a druid during the God Wars. He taught them a ritual that would supposedly wake Guthix, but it really unlocked the ancient prison, where the Zoroastrian General Nex and her armies had been imprisoned earlier. As always, Slisk teleported away, going back into hiding. Later, Slisk appeared before the 6 commanders of the Mauritania campaign that was initiated to liberate Mauritania from the vampires. He gave them power to make their campaign possible, but, when the kingdom's capital was reached, he took their powers and claimed the Barrows brothers as his own loyal whites. In the 5th Age, he began to follow the adventurer that has been mentioned often before, considering them as his next white. During the 18th ritual, he was met in person for the first time, bringing along his whites to battle the Zamorakian forces, Lucian and Zemurigal in particular. He laughingly agreed to Lucian's decision of sacrificing Jalan, stating that he was indeed useless. After the ritual was over and Lucian killed, he remained to gain some profit and attempted to convert the adventurer into his next white. The priest Akrazi Koluim saved their life, and thus Slisk did add a 7th warrior. Although he had missed his original target, he then pursued the Dragonkin and, through means unknown, acquired the staff of Armadil which had been used to kill Lucian. Slisk once again gained the most profit, as he intended, during the attempt to assassinate Guthix. He explained the situation to the adventurer when they appeared in Guthix's cave and advised them to aid the Zoroastrians while pretending to help the Guthixians. He convinced them that the Zoroastrian faction wished to bargain with Guthix to return Zoroas to the world, rather than kill him, as all other factions desired. When the other factions began to arrive, he left the cave and went to Azanadra and the others for last preparations. He once again released Nex from her prison and still pretended to agree with the other mahjarrat's plan. When the Zoroastrians arrived to the temple, Slisk was not with them. Instead, he secretly broke into Guthix's chamber himself and slew him with the staff before the adventurer's eyes before, once more, teleporting away. His first misfortune happens during Fate of the Gods. Anticipating Zoro's return, he entrusts the World Guardian with the secret duty of sabotaging Zoro's body with light simulacrum. Despite the outcome, Zoro's returns and is none too pleased with Slisk's treachery. He was punished by being cast out of the Zoro's order personally. Tamikal was a mahjarrat of considerable strength, possibly even slightly stronger than Azanadra. A Menafite loyalist who did not join most of his brethren in defecting to the Zoroastrian Empire. Tumekal was assumed dead following the sacrifice of Tumkan. Tumekal, however, survived the explosion and became the leader of a group of Menafite nomads. He was later discovered by Bilrak and Lucian and subsequently killed despite his apparently superior power, but not before warning his former comrades that Tumkan would return and destroy them. Trindine served under Slisk in the Zoroastrian secret police, the Praetorians. She presumably died during the late Second Age or God Wars. Untrad was given the rank of tribune by Zoroas, presumably dying some time after. Wayaziatel is a friendly and clever Zoroastrian and brother of Slisk who seems to have a form of rivalry with Khazad. He wears robes in different tinges of brown, green and dark yellow and has a thick, blue scarf on his shoulders. His trademark spell is a small green orb shot from his hands. After Azanadra's imprisonment in Jaldraut, Wayaziatel attempted to save Sentisan by turning the Zamorakian and Saradominist armies against each other. This failed, and Sentisan was evacuated on orders of Degradar and subsequently destroyed. To avoid being spotted as a Zoroastrian, Wayaziatel disguised himself as the Nardarian scholar Ali the Wise, an anagram for Wayaziatel, and also began hiding his Zoroastrian alignment from his kin at rituals. When the God Wars were over, Ali informed the last Zoroastrian colony at Garok of this. In the Fifth Age, he desired to perform some surveillance on his kin for the forthcoming ritual and, with the help of an adventurer, successfully gathered information on the other mahjarrat's endeavors. Once Azanadra was advertisement. Slisk betrays the Zoroastrians and slays Guthics. Advertisement. Wayaziatel fights against Lucian. At the ritual. Released from Jaldraut, the two old friends met up and Wayaziatel assisted in the restoration of Sentisan. He also helped in stealing Araf's heart from Zemarigal to break the latter's curse over the hero. He joined the Cruxical Alliance when heading to the ritual site in 169 when the group were intercepted by Khazad, who revealed Ali's real identity. Wayaziatel fought Khazad with his allies and won. He later bravely duelled Lucian during the entire ritual, despite being considerably weaker than his opponent. He insisted throughout the entire process that Lucian be sacrificed due to the threat he posed. In the end, he teleported back to Narda under the guise of Ali. When the cave of Guthics had been discovered, Wayaziatel, Axhanakos and Azanadra formed the plan to negotiate with rather than kill Guthics and convinced Char and Nex to agree, with Slisk merely pretending to do so as well. Wayaziatel and the others arrived just after Crescent death and he was teleported back to Narda by Saradomin. After Slisk slew Guthics, Zamorak under Zoro's service, General Zamorak the Scourge, 11, was his strongest battle mage, but Azanadra was more powerful in raw magic. At some point, he began plotting a rebellion against Zoro's. First, he took Purger's journal on a mission to raid Framinic settlements. He duplicated the book and kept the real book, which transferred Purger's thoughts directly to Zoro's, for himself, while giving him the fake one, thus hiding his plan from Zoro's. He later acquired the Staff of Armadillo and, with several co-conspirators, including Hazel, Zemarigal and Inakra, attacked Zoro's in his citadel. After a duel, Zoro's powers were transferred into Zamorak and the latter became the most powerful mortal ever to date, next to the World Guardian, but was weakened, and taken to the infernal dimensions by a legion of demons, while Zoro's left his body to avoid death and fled the realm. The other gods swiftly took the credit, claiming to have banished Zamorak from the world. Shortly afterwards, Zamorak returned, having become a god using the Stone of Jaz, with an army so big that he could conquer the world, and declared war against all the other gods, starting the first Guy-Linerian God Wars. Zamorak's involvement in the war was great, but the most notable action he did himself occurred shortly before the end of the God Wars. Zamorak launched an extremely strong spell in 4-3, which, empowered by the Stone of Jaz, laid waste to the former Zoroasian kingdom. Zamorak caused so much destruction that the Anima Mundi literally cried out in pain and awoke Guthix after he slumbered for thousands of years. Seeing the horrors caused to the world, Guthix struck a massive blade in the center of the wilderness Zamorak had created a large crater and the edicts of Guthix, which banished all the gods that participated in the war and preventing them from ever returning, including Zamorak. Until 168 of the Fifth Age, Bilrak had been attempting to find a way around the edicts of Guthix by having Zamorak enter Guy-Liner via the Rift, a place in the bottom of Demonheim that weakens all the interdimensional barriers. With the late aid of Muir, a half-breed mahjarrat. At the end of 169, Zemirigal, Inakra and Kairil Zazaroth each led their own legions into Guthix's cave to slay the god. They all failed, however, being defeated by the Guthixians. Nevertheless, when Slisk killed Guthix, the path for Zamorak to return became open. Zemirigal. Zemirigal is a powerful Zamorakian mahjarrat, Lucian's cousin and a practiced necromancer. Zemirigal is dressed in grey and dark blue with brown trims. In combat, he uses magic, but more often he is seen using necromancy and sending forth battalions of undead, using portals to heal them. He was amongst Zamorak's companions when he rebelled against Zoros, and received a fortress near the ritual site for reward. During the Fourth Age, Zemirigal confronted the Avarokian hero Aruf in the Land of Dreams and tried to steal his famous and powerful shield. He eventually launched an assault on Varrock with the aid of an army of the undead. He nearly won, but was stopped eventually by Aruf, who, by saving the city, also sacrificed himself. Zemirigal killed him and fled with his body, to animate him and use him as his general. In 169, Zemirigal attempted a final attack on Varrock before heading to the ritual. In his base under the wilderness, he was seen with Aruf by his side as well as Sharath Tirk by two scouts of Varrock, who reported their findings to the city. The three soon attacked Varrock Palace with an army of armored zombies, but were stopped with the shield of Aruf. An angry Zemirigal headed for the north with Sharath Tirk and Aruf afterwards, where he remained in his fort to prepare for the ritual. Later, an adventurer, on Wayaziatel's order, stole Aruf's heart, which is how Zemirigal had cursed him, from the latter's base and infiltrated his fort where they smashed the obsidian crystal used to maintain the curse. During the ritual, Zemirigal battled Azanadra and tried to convince Lucian to sacrifice a Zoroasian. When Aruf was freed from Zemirigal's hold due to the proximity to his heart, he went berserk against Zemirigal, who came in great trouble due to the heavy attacks from Azanadra and Aruf. He begged his cousin for help, but Lucian ignored him, and the influential Zemurigal persuaded all of the other forces on the battlefield to take on Lucian instead of each other. After Lucian's demise at the hands of Sekurth, Zemurigal left the scene in fear, glad that Lucian had been defeated. After the discovery of Guthix's cave triggered the alarm system, the Dark Wizards of the Varrock Stone Circle immediately notified Zemurigal, who realized what had happened. He immediately formed a plan of action and headed to the cave with his undead. Zemurigal penetrated one of the storage wings leading to the main chamber, but was defeated by the Adventurer and Crescent and his automatons. He angrily had to leave the cave and head back to his fort upon defeat. Zemurigal Sr. Zemurigal was the father of Zemurigal. He traveled with his mate to the ritual marker on Frenesca to perform the ritual of enervation. Only he and his mate made it to the ritual marker, and as his mate was too weak to provide the energy needed, he sacrificed himself to ensure that he would sire a son. Mahjarrat-related quests. Temple of Ikoth, Lucian. Advertisement. Zamorak sends 4 in 3 to its oblivion. Zamorak returns to Gaelina, causing destruction. Advertisement. Zemurigal and his gargoyle minion Sharath Tirk form the plan to kill Guthix. Advertisement. VDE, show. VDE, show. Fight Arena, Khazad. Hazil Cult, Hazil. The Fremnig Trials, Karshai. Desert Treasure, Azanadra. Inakra's Lament, Inakra, Axhanakos. Defender of Varrock, Zemurigal. While Guthix sleeps, Lucian. The Tale of the Muspah, Jalan. Missing my mummy, none, only general law. The Curse of Aruth, Lamistad, Zemurigal, Minor. The Temple at Sentison, Azanadra. Ritual of the Mahjarrat, Axhanakos, Azanadra, Inakra, Hazil, Jalan, Khazad, Lucian, Slisk, Wayaziatel, Zemurigal. The Curse of Zarao's mini-quest, Zamorak. The General's Shadow mini-quest, Khazad. The Firemaker's Curse, Zamorak, Minor. Nadir, Muir, Lucian, Zemurigal, Minor, Bilrak. Blood Runs Deep, Karshai, Minor. Kos Shi'i's Troubles mini-quest, Karshai, Axhanakos, Inakra. The World Wakes, Axhanakos, Minor, Azanadra, Inakra, Slisk, Wayaziatel, Minor, Zemurigal. Birthright of the Dwarfs, Zamorak, Minor. Missing Presumed Death, Axhanakos, Minor, Azanadra, Inakra, Hazil, Minor, Karshai. Khazad, Minor, Slisk, Wayaziatel, Zamorak, Zemurigal. Mahjarrat Memories mini-quest, Karshai. Fate of the Gods, Azanadra, Slisk. Dishonor Among Thieves, Bilrak, Inakra, Hazil, Khazad, Muir, Slisk, Zamorak, Zemurigal. Dimension of Disaster, Zemurigal. Nomad's Elegy, Slisk, Minor. Kindred Spirits, Slisk. Children of Mu, Axhanakos, Azanadra, Bilrak, Inakra, Hazil, Jalan, Minor, Karshai, Khazad, Porkira, Minor, Slisk, Minor, Trindine, Minor. Wayaziatel, Zamorak, Zemurigal. Slisk's Endgame, Azanadra, Minor, Muir, Minor, Slisk, Zamorak. Trivia. The word Maharaja, also spelled Maharaja, is Sanskrit for Great King or High King. This might be where the name of the Mahjarrat was derived from. Another link is found in the Arabic word Mahjar, which means diaspora, a dispersion of a people from their original homeland. Before the release of Defender of Varrock, mahjarrat looked like generic skeletons at the time, adorned with armor or robes, with the exception of Hazil. They were later updated to look more unique, and the release of Ritual of the Mahjarrat brought along another generalizing graphical update. However, Bilrak, Karshai, Zemirigal, in Nadir only, and Slisk, only during his 6th age appearances, had an even newer model. Zemirigal was later completely updated with the release of Dimension of Disaster, and the other mahjarrat, with the exception of Lucian and Jalan, followed suit with the release of Children of Ma almost 2 years later. In addition, in RuneScape Classic, Hazel and Khazad both looked like generic Black Knights. According to Mod Jack, mahjarrat can be considered as low tier 7 in the tiers of godhood. 18. Mahjarrat do not have souls, and as such do not have an afterlife. References: 1 Mod Osborne. Campfire, Answers. The 27th of June, 2013. RuneScape General Forums. 2 Mod Osborne on the mahjarrat's increase in power after a ritual. Source: around 102 of http://www.twitch.tv/runescape/b/449227553. 3 Mod Jono. Campfire, Answers. The 27th of June, 2013. General Forums. 4 Mod Raven. Law Campfire, Answers. The 27th of June, 2013. General Forums. 5 ABJJX. Postbag 47, Transcript Grumpy Mermaids and Sleepy Dragons, Letter. 5 RuneScape Postbags from the Hedge. 6 Lucian, Nadir, RuneScape. No one can move the marker. Not even a true mahjarrat. 7 Senlightin, Missing My Mummy, RuneScape. Perhaps they were freed by Ixthlerin from their vows of obedience. 8 Senlightin, Missing My Mummy, RuneScape. That vile creature Zaraos and his minions. During my reign, we defeated him temporarily with the aid of the stern judges. 9 JJX. Above the Law, Episode 4, The Secrets of Slisk Mods Osborne and Ollie. Relevant information around the 25th minute. Above the Law Podcast, 20 June, 2013. 10 Vigora, Declaration of Vigora, RuneScape. Only one of the generals remained silent, a mahjarrat warrior known as Zamorak the Scourge. 11 AB Vigora, The Curse of Zaraos, RuneScape. At that moment I was reminded for whom I fought, and why General Zamorak had earned his nickname the Scourge. Whom I fought, and why General Zamorak had earned his nickname the Scourge. Upon the battlefield. 12 Vigora, The Curse of Zaraos, RuneScape. Zamorak stood over the empty lord, who was slowly fading from existence. And as he faded, it seemed almost seemed as though Zamorak became more real, more solid than he had been before. 13 Zemirigal, Notes, KZ, RuneScape. Khazad is the youngest of our race on RuneScape. He was born towards the end of the God Wars, shortly before the death of his mother, Porkira. 14 Slisk, The World Wakes, RuneScape. Those of us who were around to see our gods banished New Gothics remained somewhere in this earth. It was a question of where. Through the ages, most of us gave up the search, actively, at least. To most It seemed like such an unattainable goal, and our minds became focused elsewhere. 15-carat mod crow. Campfire, answers. The 27th of June, 2013. General forums. 16-carat JJX. Postbag 38, transcript. What's the matter, Jad? Chicken, letter 5, by Azanadra. RuneScape postbags from the hedge. 17-carat JJX. Mod Jack's Twitter account. The 17th of March, 2014. Mod Jack, the aforementioned. As such in Bilraka's memory. 18-carat Mod Jack. Mahjarrat Memories FAQ. Recent game updates forums. Note: the original source is lost. Mahjarrat. Tumken's Dream. Categories. Languages. Community content is available under CC/BY unless otherwise noted. Mahjarrat face concept art. Advertisement. Concept art for the Mahjarrats. Graphical update. Explore properties. Fandom. Mutheed. Fanatical. Follow US. Overview. What is fandom? About. Careers. Others like you also viewed. Popular pages. More fandoms. Fantasy RuneScape. Dream Zelda Kerapark Darklight Lucian God of Mirror Wars Eliden is Dog Hobgoblin. Falada Massacre. Armor / melee armor. Treasure. Trails / guide / coordinates. Armor / magic armor. Iron Man mode / strategies. Press. Contact. Terms of use. Privacy policy. Digital Services Act. Global sitemap. Local sitemap. Community. Community Central. Support. Help. Advertise. Media Kit. Contact. Fandom apps. Take your favorite fandoms with you and never miss a beat. RuneScape Wiki is a fandom games community. View mobile site, follow on IG, TikTok, join Fan Lab.